Hi there, I'm Amanda Skelton and I'm an independent Stampin' Up demonstrator, and today I'd like to show you this gorgeous card. I've done two different ones here. I don't know if there is a name for it, but it's sort of like a triangular folding card. So I don't know if you can see here. So it can stand up, but it can also fold flat for posting, which is brilliant. And then you can write your sentiment on the back. But it's a really nice 3D card, which adds a really nice different element to it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to demonstrate how to make this card, and I'm going to use the gorgeous elements of the Poppy suites that are currently available. So for these cards, I've used the Painted Poppy stamp set. I've used the Peaceful Moment stamp set. So here we've got the Painted Poppies stamp set and the Peaceful Moments stamp set, and then I've also got the Poppy Moments dies which match, and I'm also going to be using the oval layering dies as well, which I use so much. It's probably my most used product. There are different bundles you can buy in the Poppy set, so I'd just like to show you those because I haven't really bought a bundle on this. So there are two different bundles, Painted Poppies bundle and Peaceful Moments bundle. So I actually bought the stamp set from each of those, and then I also bought these dies. I didn't buy both bundles. That's because when I looked at these different shapes, I thought that they would be the same shapes to match these images on here. They are the same shape, but they're not the same size, as you'll see. So if you can see on both of these cards, I have used the stamp from the stamp set, and I've used the die from the Peaceful Moments bundle, the die set. But as you can see, there's quite a large white area around it. That's because the die in the other set is a smaller die to fit it. I'm quite happy with that because of what I can do with these extra dies. So I'm happy to live with that. But if you want it to be exact, then you would definitely want to look at the bundles, the dies that go with the stamp set on here, as opposed to the ones that I'm using. But it's good enough what I want, so I'm quite happy with that. And you can also see here, these are the papers that I'm using. The Peaceful Poppies designer series paper, which are beautiful. I really am not a flower person, but I've really taken to these papers. They're going to be so useful. And I've also got the sequins actually, and I've also got the ribbon that is this Poppy Parade red as well, which is a really nice colour to go with it. It goes with all of the papers. Probably the only one it probably doesn't go with is the purple one. But you can make your own to match that if you have the white ribbon, and then you can use Stampin Blends to change it to the colour you want it to. Okay, so what do you need to make these cards? So we need a piece of Whisper White card, and that measures 8 inches by 6 inches. And then you need 2 pieces of coloured card. I've got Melon Mambo here, and they need to be 1 3/4 inches by 5.5 inches, 2 of those. And then you need 2 pieces of the designer series paper. So I've gone for the pink poppy version, and that needs to be 4 7/8 of an inch by 1.5 inches. Again, 2 of those. Oh, excuse me. And then you'll need some scrap pieces of white paper, white card for the sentiment. So I want that for the sentiment here to cut out, and also for the flower to cut out, stamp and cut out. Oh, excuse me. Okay, so let me start with the main piece then. I have already scored this. I'm hoping you can maybe see it. So what you need to do is, on one side of it, you need to score at 2 inches and 6 inches. So just a line down each side. And then what you need to do is turn it over and score at 4 inches, which is the middle line. Okay, and then I don't know if you can see that, hopefully you can see all the score lines on it. What you then need to do is make sure you've got your piece of card with the 2 valleys on the top showing, and then you're going to score these extra lines here. So you're going to, with a pencil, mark 2 inches across the first valley, sorry, 2 inches and 6 inches, and then 2 inches and 6 inches on the second valley. And then what you're going to do is use your trimmer. If I just explain. So I've already scored this, but you can, so this would be my pencil mark here. What I'd also do is use a pencil mark on your middle line as well. It just makes it a lot easier to see through your ruler. So what you want to do then is basically find your 2 inches mark and the corner, make sure it's under there, and then using your scorer, not your cutter. A tip, when you're scoring, I always take my cutting blade off, which you can easily do. So there's a little gap on the right hand side. Oh, she says. Normally comes off when you don't want it to. Oh, why am I struggling with this now? There you go. So that comes off, and then you know you're only ever going to score. You're not going to cut any corners off, which is really useful to know. Okay, so I'll leave that one off for the minute. So I'm not actually going to score, but you can see the idea that you're going to score a zigzag down here. Another tip, when you come to score down to the middle line, do it just either side of the middle fold, because otherwise you'll have 3 levels of score line on top of the same point here, and it'll make it quite weak. So when you do your lines down to the middle, just do it slightly either side. And so you'll need to do it that side, and then you'll also need to do it the same the other side. Again, the same paper the same way up. Okay, so then what you need to do is you want to cut away from your valleys. So I've got the valley here and a valley here. So I'm going to fold away from that one, fold away from that one, and then I've got my mountain or the ridge here. So I'm going to go to it, and then you'll end up with something like that, like an M once it's folded. Okay. And the idea being that those are going to stick together, and this will be your front. That'll be your front facing sections. Okay, so now you've got triangles on the corner, on the edges. So now you just want to gently fold into your score marks, and you want to fold it backwards. And then you can just press it down, or you can use a bone folder if you want to. And then you just want to do the same the other side. Again, fold it away. Okay, so you can see that. And then again, on the bottom section, you've got your 2 triangles. Again, you want to fold it away. Do the same the other side. Okay, so then you've got something that looks like that. So now you can see that when you hold them together, they become that, and you've got your edges at the side here, which we've got here as well. Okay. So what I recommend you do before you start trying to make the actual 3D shape is try and add all of your detail on it as much as you can, at least onto the flat surfaces. So what we want to do is add in all of our panels. So we've got the 2 pieces of coloured card and 2 pieces of our designer series paper. And what you want to do is you want to measure in 1 3/4 inches from both edges on one edge, and the same on the other piece. And then on the designer series paper, you want to measure in 1 1/2 inches from both edges. You can't see it very well, but I have marked it. I'm going to have to, oh, there you go, I'll find the pieces now. Often, if you've done it in pencil, if you hold it up to the light, you can often see it shine, right, if you can't see it, so that's something to do. The other thing you want to be aware of, if you're doing something with a pattern that has a right way up, it's not so bad with this paper because it can be multi-ways, but you could sort of argue really that is the right way of paper and not that way. So what you've got to remember is if you cut them both that way, you're going to have one shape, you're going to have both shapes like this, which means that by the time you've cut this one, you need to turn it upside down, so it'll be the wrong way up. You need to make sure that one is one direction and one is the other direction, and then you'll end up with both pieces facing the right direction. So again, I'm going to use my trimmer, which I have to say I'm getting on really well with. It's a new trimmer. I've just done 2 workshops yesterday, and I did all the preparation for 6 ladies, and I'd cut all the cardstock and all the DSP, and the new trimmer blade, which I've just taken off. The new trimmer blade has just been brilliant. Normally, after doing that amount of card, I would probably have to change the blade by now. So I'm really pleased with the new blade. Okay, so you can hopefully see that I've got my markings there. So I'm just going to place that along the cutting line with the edge. And another tip is, when you're cutting, try and cut from the straight edge rather than from a corner, because that is quite a weak point of the card. So you can hopefully see through there. So I'm just going to cut the corner off. And you want to keep these corners because this is going to become the sections to go on here. So keep hold of those. So I'm going to then cut the next corner off. Oh, my blade moved because it wasn't in properly. And then the same on this one. And then the final corner on the card. So now I've got 2 pieces like this and 4 triangles, and I'll take my pencil marks off in a minute, so I'll just put those to the side for the minute. This creates a ledge here, but if you open it up, then it's a flat surface. I keep struggling, I always keep pushing stuff against it, but if you push it that way, then that's a lot easier to get off. Okay, so again, I need to cut off the corners of my designer series paper so I can just about see where my markings are. Again, I'm going from my straight edge to the corner. So that's my mark there. Darker patterned papers are quite hard to see your pencil marks. What you can do is, if you've got a lighter, if I'd have thought about it before, what you can do is do it on the lighter side if you want to do that. It doesn't matter what side you're cutting it on. There you go. So again, I've got 2 pieces of the patterned and the 4 triangles to go with it. Get rid of that for now. So what you've got to remember is, I've got those 4 there. Okay, what you've got to remember is when it's closed up, you're going to be seeing and wanting to decorate those two faces and those four faces. What I would recommend is put a little pencil mark on those faces, and then you know that when you put it flat, you know where you're going to be gluing your sections. So I'm going to get my silicone mat so that glue won't stick to everything, as it invariably does when I try and do it. Okay, so I'm going to glue my DSP patterned onto each of the cornered coloured card. I just use permanent adhesive tape for this. It's quicker to run that along the card. Just see, I've got some pencil marks. Just get rid of those as I go along. There we go, so those four pieces are done, and now I can do the same for these. Again, get rid of my pencil marks. Nobody needs to see those now. And of course, because the DSP paper, as with all of the DSP paper that Stampin' Up does, is two-sided, you can choose either the sides. You could even mix and match it. You could have it so that different sections are different patterns. But I've gone with the patterns that I particularly like on this. Again, get rid of my pencil marks. Ooh, quite straight. There you go, so I've got all of my sections. So now it's just a case of sticking each of those. So if you can see now, both of my patterns match up because I cut one the wrong way upside down, if you remember I said. So that means that when they go on, they'll be the right way up still. So again, I'm just going to use my glue tape. And because we've got it flat still, it's a lot easier to position it and it's a lot easier to press on it. Still finding pencil marks. There you go. So that one's on there nicely. And because you're putting your piece of paper on these sections, it doesn't matter about the pencil marks because we're covering them up. It's very easy to get the triangles on the wrong sections. It seems more obvious to put them on here. So I do think putting the pencil marks on is quite a good little thing to do, really, once you worked out when it's closed or when it's assembled where that they would go. And the last piece. There you go. So there you go, once it's closed up. If you wanted to, you could put sections on here as well. I quite like it having the white and patterned mixture. It saves on paper and card as well, so I don't think it's necessary because when you see it like that, that's actually how you would see it. The other thing is, I did base this design on on a tutorial that Jan Brown did of JanB cards. She used coloured card and then white cardstock for the edges, and then a DSP. But then she added lots of white sections onto the back, and that was so that you could then use it to write your sentiment. I thought that if you just use white card for your main cards, your card blank, then you don't need to add any additional paper. So it's time and it's extra products as well. So I just thought it's easier just to have the white as your backdrop colour, and then you can add any colours you want, and then you've already got your area to write your sentiment on. Okay, so now we've done that, what we need to do is stick these two sections together, and I would recommend using the tear and tape because it's quick and it's stronger than the glue tape and the wet glue. It just adheres a lot quicker than having to hold it for a while. And probably worth putting 3 strips across. And then put one across quite close to the front. Just gonna snip that one a bit because it's going over it. Okay, so once you've done that, you can take your, just see it's gone over a bit, I'm just going to peel that back so it doesn't stick to there. Okay, so you've got your three sections of glue, and then all you do is sandwich it together. And because you can get to it behind, you can just give it a really nice press. And there you have the actual main part of your card. Okay, so now we want to add our sentiment and our flower. And I'm going to add some, actually probably the other one is a better example. So I'm going to add some of the lovely sequins, and I'm going to add a flower to it as well. So I'm using the oval layering dies, and I've got the 4th size. So there's 1, 2, 3. This is the 4th from the largest. So there's 3 larger ones ahead of that one. So I'm going to die cut my, oh, my handle's falling off. I'm going to die cut the shape first, and then I'm going to stamp it afterwards. Don't forget to always make sure that your plates are nicely lined up, otherwise it ends up shearing the plastic off the edge if it goes through too wide. I'll keep that card for later. So, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to stamp my sentiment. So you've got lots of lovely sentiments on here. I've done quite a few with happy birthday, so I'm going to do this as a thank you. But you've got some lovely things on here, and you might want to use a die or a shape that is big enough for the sentiment you want to use. So I tend to sort of put the sentiment on the left side and then decorate it on the right side with the flowers. Actually, congratulations will fit in there. So depending on what sentiment you want to use, so for example, you'd want to use a bigger die for the top left one. Actually, all the others will fit in apart from that one, so that's not so bad. Okay, so I'm going to use matching coloured ink, which is Melon Mambo, and because they have the stickers, the cling stickers that go onto the stamps, I can see where my writing is going to be. So I'm just going to put it to the left hand side, press nice and evenly. So that's got a really nice font on that. And then the next thing I'm going to do is, I'm going to let that dry a little bit, and next thing I'm going to do is stamp my poppy outline. Oh, I've already put it on here ahead of myself. And I'm going to use my Memento Black to do my outline. And like I said before, because I'm using the dies that don't go with this bundle, it will be a larger cut size than what I'm going to stamp. So I'm just going to leave a bit of space either side just to give that space for the die, which is bigger. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my Stampin Blends. So the Stampin Blends don't have all of the colours for all of the inks because some of them are very similar. So what I'm using is the Lovely Lipstick Duo. So you've got your light and your dark shades. And what I tend to do is use the light shade first and then add the dark shade for contrast. So you'd always add the light shade first and add dark afterwards if you want to blend it in. So I like using the brush end. You've got the normal sort of felt tip end as well. It tends to be a lot more what's the word, gives a much more liquid effect using the brush. It just lays down a lot more liquid, and these are alcohol markers. So although when you're first colouring it in you might see all the edges, once it's dried it does actually give a really nice finish. So you just want to colour your main colour. Okay. Now I'm going to keep that handy. I haven't put the lid properly on it. And then I'm just going to add some edges here. I've got a bit there as well. Oh, I told you I didn't put the lid on. So, and then going back to the light one, you can then just use that and it will just spread out the ink a bit more to give it a bit of shadowing. So you can see it gives it a bit more of a 3D effect. It makes it look a bit more realistic when it's not just a flat solid colour. Okay, so I'm now going to cut that one out. So these are all of the dies that come with the Poppy Moments dies. So when I saw in the catalogue, I thought, oh, that looks like the right shape. It is, but you can see the difference in size. But I'm still going to use it anyway. And I think when you use it on top of a dark colour, having the white outline actually gives it a bit more of a definition. So, which is fine. I'm gonna go with that. So let me just get my big shot. Okay. So again, just place that one in. So you can see it's actually the same shape. So it actually does complement it quite well. Oh, it's come off again. So you can see what I mean by the edge it gives it. Okay, so I finished with that one. So I'm going to add a flower there, and then these are the gorgeous sequins, Peaceful Poppy sequins that come as part of the range. So there's lots of different, I'm going to use my picker tool, and I'm going to use the sticky end, which is sort of a bit like putty or blue tack, I suppose, and it just gives a little bit of stick there. So I'm going to find some of the pink. So you can see there's quite a few different colours. There's gold, there's black, and I can see Poppies actually be quite a good set for doing sympathy cards. but you don't always want to do those sorts of cards, so I think those will go quite nicely on there. There is a slightly paler colour. See that one? Actually, there's also clear as well. It's all very well sequenced, but they aren't enough static. So I think the paler colour is just too pale for this one, so I'm going to do. And you've also got flowers and sequins. I don't know if you can see that. You've got the difference between like a little flower and then the plain round sequins. So I think if I can find a flower. Oh. I think I'm going to do them all flat sequins. Just need to find another sequin. There we go. And I have done flower arranging before in the past, and a lot of things sort of like in art and creative things, you want to probably work in odd numbers, so either 1 or 3 or 5. So I'm going to do 3 on there. And I'm just going to use some Tombow. So I'm going to put Tombow up here for my flower, and I've put it on the backing on here so that I know that I'm not going to put too much on and then end up sticking it to the background. And then I'm just going to do 3 little dots of glue, and sometimes it can be very sticky, so I'm just going to use my nail just to ease it off of the tacky tool. And don't forget with this glue, oh, I knew that would happen. Don't forget with this glue, it dries clear, even though it's white when you first put it on. It does dry clear, so it doesn't matter if you've put too much on. Okay, so just while that's drying, it shouldn't take too long. What I'd recommend you do to adhere your sentiment, because this is going to be the main part of the structure and you want this to be nice and flat, again, I would use the tape, the tearing tape, and I'd put a piece top and bottom of your panels, and then what we're going to do is do top and bottom on here, which isn't going to happen while it's still wet. So I think it will be there. So just want to put 2 pieces either. Oh, there you go, I knew that would happen. There you go. What I would probably recommend you did actually is add that on afterwards, and then you can just leave it. So let's see if I can get that on here without taking the sequins off again. If you find that you can't get the top layer of the tear and tape off, you just need to make sure you rub it down really nice and hard, and then it adheres more to the card underneath rather than to the protective film on the front, on the top. Okay, now I just need to take this off of here. Okay, and then place it in the middle. And there you have a very pretty and unusual card which would make a lovely Valentine's card, anniversary card. It's just a bit different. It stands up really nicely, doesn't it? Like I said, I'm not really a flower person, but I've really taken to the Poppies sweets. I've got some other cards here that I've made. So again, using the stamp set, this stamp is gorgeous, and it doesn't have to be for an unhappy occasion. So I've done a traditional red one here. So this is using the nice Poppy Parade ribbon that goes with it. And then I've got Happy Birthday, and I've coloured these in with different coloured blends just to make it nice and bright. So that's a really nice one. And then using the dies, so I just need to put that one back in there. So using these dies, so these dies and these dies, make these lovely sort of 2D flowers here. So you're cutting one colour, so one die is the dark colour and this die is the background colour, and you've got the same for the leaves and the little buds as well. So again, I think this is going to be a really useful and firm favourite of mine. So I hope you've enjoyed watching this. I hope it gives you inspiration to try a card that on the outside looks quite difficult, but once you've got all the measurements and you've got all your score lines, as hopefully I've demonstrated, it's fairly simple to make. And like I said, you can make it with any DSP, any sentiments, any extra detail you want, and then it folds flat to put into your normal A6 envelope, and you've got white on the back there to write your message. So thank you again for watching. I'm Amanda Skelton. You can order any of these products if you like them at my Stampin' Up website, which is amandascraftedcards.stampingup.net. If you've got any questions, then please don't hesitate to get into contact with me. I'll put all the details regarding sizes, etc., and the products that I've used on the details of this video. Thank you again. Bye bye.